All right, we're talking 49er football. The Niners and the Chiefs go Sunday at Levi's. And joining us, the voice, one of the color analysts for the Chiefs broadcast, Danan Hughes, the former wide receiver, is with us to help us break down what I think is going to be the best game of the day in the NFL in Week 7. Danan, thank you very much for your time. Since we scheduled this, the 49ers made a monumental trade last night, sending a 2, a 3, a 4 in next year's draft, and then a 5th in the 2024 draft to the Carolina Panthers for Christian McCaffrey. Huge news here, huge news around the NFL. Give me your perspective on what you think that addition does for the 49ers.
Well, I think it's a great addition. First of all, I appreciate you having me on. I think it's,
sure.
This matchup is really going to be cool as well. But I think when you talk about trying for immediate success, there are different schools of thought in the NFL or around professional sports. Do we draft, or do we acquire for now, or do we draft/acquire for the future? Do we look down the road too far? And I think there's a lot of teams that may have that mindset that they feel like they want to develop, the dreaded R word, the rebuild. But I commend teams that say, you know what, now is our opportunity to seek what we want to get to go after with guns blazing. So when you go out and get Christian McCaffrey, you already had Jeff Wilson there. Elijah's not, obviously he's injured and not a part of the backfield, but I think that's a great 1-2 punch. Not sure he will impact or have any impact on this game this weekend. Hopefully he's not there for the Chiefs fans. But I think, when you look at organizations, you have to trust your GMs. San Francisco obviously is in the mindset of let's do what we can right now to seize an NFC West and potentially get back to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, he's a dynamic player. You played the position of wide receiver. Let's start there with the Chiefs because they had Tyreek Hill and now he's in Miami. And I don't want to say they haven't missed a beat. I'll defer to you, Dan. And to me, from afar, it looks like the offense looks as explosive as ever. But you've probably noticed the nuances as far as the differences. What are you seeing with the Chiefs with Tyreek as opposed to without him?
So, yeah, Tyreek is a generational talent. Obviously, you guys have somebody, or the 49ers have somebody out there like Deebo Samuel, who's kind of in that same mode where he's just an automatic mismatch in any position that he's lined up in, and he embarrasses guys on the field. Tyreek did that. And I kind of referenced that our offense is still strong, but we're not as scary as we used to be. Tyreek brought that element of fear to opposing defenses, and he scared other teams out of different coverages. He scared them out of game plans. He scared them out of the stadium at times, and we missed that. And I'd say this offense, if you look at the numbers, they're still eye-popping. Patrick Mahomes is still a top talent. Travis Kelce is still the best in the business at the tight end position, but we're missing some of that big strike offense from the wide receiver position. Marquez Valdez-Scantling has made some plays, but not any super big plays that we'd like. Juju Smith-Schuster had a big touchdown last week, 42-yard catch and run. That's a big play. But as far as what Tyreek brought, it just seems like it's different right now. We're moving the ball down the field, 10, 12, 15-play drives, when we had Tyreek, those plays were like 6 or 8 play drives with capping off with a score. So just a different twist, different dynamic, but still very potent offense.
I didn't realize you played minor league baseball, huh?
Yeah, baseball is my first love, still is my first love. I played college baseball and football, and I was drafted in the 3rd round in the same draft with Derek Jeter and Jason Giambi and those guys. So got to play 2 years of minor league baseball before the Chiefs came knocking. And I was called from baseball to football. One of the more difficult decisions that I've ever had to make in my life.
Well, that's really cool. Let's talk about Sky Moore for a second. I mean, you played collegiately at Iowa, and how difficult it is for rookie wide receivers to kind of cut their teeth in the NFL. Why is that the case? We say that, and like we repeat these phrases. Oh, rookie receivers struggle, and there's a lot of truth. There's a lot of wisdom in that statement, but we never really dig any deeper as to exactly why. As a guy who played the position, why is it that rookie receivers struggle to transition, and what are you seeing with Sky Moore, who was tremendously productive in college, and thus far, he hasn't been able to hit his stride?
Well, I think it's just different. And when I was in college, whether I played Ohio State, Michigan, great teams, top 10 teams, Illinois back then, even the University of Miami, you always felt like on that defense, never mind the defensive backfield, but on any particular defense, you might be playing against 2, maybe 3 NFL caliber players. Well, when you come to the NFL, you're playing against 11 NFL caliber players on every single defense. So there's a different dynamic that you have to get used to. The speed of the game. I don't care if you play in the SEC, Big Ten, Pac-12. It doesn't matter. The speed of the game is drastically different at the NFL level than it is at college. A lot of fans think just because Alabama reigns and they draft a lot of players and so on, that Alabama and Georgia, that's the same speed of the NFL. It's not. It's different. The NFL speed is different, and you're playing against grown men with families, bills, mortgages, etc. So it's a different dynamic, and sometimes it takes a receiver a little bit longer to kind of get acclimated to an offense. Think about a guy like Sky Moore. When he was in college, when he absorbed that offense his freshman year, that was the offense that he had sophomore year, junior year, senior year. So then he can just go out and play. While here in the NFL, like, it's taken a while to kind of absorb this Chiefs offense that can be very, very complicated, get on the same page with Patrick Mahomes, and then garner the trust of the offense to be involved in it 40 or 50 plays. So it just takes longer. I'm not saying that, by no means is he a bust or that we don't have big plans for him. It's just going to take a little bit longer for him to get indoctrinated into this offense. But I feel like they're doing the necessary steps to get him involved more each and every game.
I know he was a little older than you, but did you have was there any, kind of intersection between Merton Hanks's run at Iowa and your run? Were you guys there at the same time? Because if you were, you guys might be locked horns in practice.
Yeah, we did all the time. Actually, Merton was 2 years older than me. So at my sophomore year, his senior year, we won the Big Ten and went to the Rose Bowl. But I made it a strong effort from my freshman year. Every time we lined up, or every time I lined up on one-on-one coverage, I always requested Merton to come over. And every time he lined up, he wanted me. So we kind of sharpened each other's tools and made each other better in practice. So yeah, Merton was a great teammate, a great friend of mine, and we both helped each other get to the next level.
Yeah, great man. He's one of my good friends as well. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Andy Reid in the red zone. They're very multiple. They're very creative. They're a very difficult team to plan for in the red zone. What do you see? What's the key to the Chiefs' red zone offense from your perspective?
Well, I think the key to the red zone has been somewhat of a key out in the open field as well. The fact that we are so creative, the fact that we have so many shifts and movements and misdirection, you put the defense on their heels just a bit. So kind of picture it as, instead of a defense, maybe Fred Warner or Eric Armstead, instead of them being able to pin their ears and go downhill and play conventional defense, they got to look to their left and to their right, because they don't know what direction things are coming from. And that slight hesitation in thinking about what's happening on your left, what's happening on the right, the movement in the backfield, if Travis Kelce is going to be behind center, if we're going to have a quarterback sneak, if Patrick Mahomes is going to move the ball around, if he's going to shovel pass up the middle, all of that stuff that's happening so fast freezes most defenses. And instead of reacting, they're frozen, then they react. And that slight hesitation helps us tremendously on offense. And that's why we can be so proficient in the red zone. So yeah, there was some tough sledding at times in the red zone where we were settling for field goals too much. But this Chiefs team, this offense, we kind of like to put our foot on the gas pedal and move forward, take some chances, fourth down in the red zone, just be very unconventional with Patrick at the helm.
Danan Hughes with us as we preview Niners Chiefs coming up Sunday at Levi's, and he's the color analyst on the broadcast. Let's talk a little bit about the backfield. I like all these backs. Heck, we had Jet McKinnon here.
Yeah.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, one of my favorite backs. I thought that was a brilliant move when the Chiefs took him at the end of the first round. And then Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, give Brett Veach some credit. 7th round pick, and he nabs Pacheco. The one thing, and I've watched every one of these Chiefs games, I cannot discern if you made me describe, okay, they use Clyde Edwards-Helaire here, they use McKinnon this way, they use Pacheco that way. Danan, I think I know something about football, and I've been watching all these games. I can't really tell you that. To me, there's no rhyme or reason to how they're utilized. You watch it closer than I do. What do you think? I mean, if you were to describe how Andy utilizes his backs or how Eric Bieniemy utilizes these backs, how would you describe it?
I would describe it as that's the exact master plan, the evil master plan that Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy has to confuse people on what our personnel will do. I think it's a perfect example of that. We are one of 3 teams in the NFL right now that have four people in the backfield that are rushing for more than 100 yards. And those 4 include those 3 you just mentioned and Patrick Mahomes. Only teams in the NFL can boast that same thing. So diversity is key, and the lack of predictability is another aspect of that. And it's also about the hot hand. One game it was Isaiah. The next game it was Jerick McKinnon. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has had a really solid mix of catching the ball well and running the ball this season in specific games. But it's literally about the hot hand. Jet McKinnon came in, I want to say it was the Raider game, and he ignited this team. He had a big run, 3 rushes and 1 drive for 41 yards, and he got the bulk of the carries for most of the game. I mean, or bulk of the plays. It was integral in the passing game as well. So it's kind of a mixture of the diversity in the backfield, keeping defenses off kilter just a bit, but then going with the hot hand. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be the starter. He's going to start the game at running back. But after that, it's literally about who's hot. And whoever's hot, they're going to feed him.
Yeah, it's smart. It's smart. Hey, what is your thought on Karlaftis? I loved him at Purdue, and I got to see him a couple, early in maybe the late preseason, and I thought he looked good. I thought he looked like, man, this guy's going to be a force on this line, but it hasn't necessarily happened. What's your view of Karlaftis?
I think he's kind of in that rookie phase right now where maybe overthinking things. As I mentioned, the speed of the game is different in the NFL versus college football. And college football, whether you're Aiden Hutchinson or George Karlaftis, Leo Chenal from the Big Ten, there's times where you can just react, play faster than everybody else. And then there's times where you get into the mode of thinking about your job, thinking about your responsibility, thinking about the game, the play at hand, as opposed to just reading and reacting. I feel really that he can provide with the
Looks like Danan, you might have froze on us there for a second. Let's see. Maybe we can get Danan back here. A little bit of a frozen deal here. Let's see. Maybe we can. Let's see. Danan, can you hear us now?
Yep. Can you hear me throughout that answer?
No, you froze in the middle of the Karlaftis answer. Maybe you could tell us what you think of Karlaftis one more time.
Oh,
I don't know. For some reason, it froze right there.
Sledding for him, but I think it's more.
Looks like we lost him there for a second. All right, maybe we can get Danan back. We'll see. Maybe he can reconnect. I'll send him a note here to see if we can reconnect with Danan. It'd be great if we could. There we go. Maybe we can. Hey, Danan, are you back?
Yep.
Yeah, we lost you there. Sorry, it was kind of a funky line right in the middle of the Karlaftis answer. But we got your thought. What about Chris Jones? Give me your thoughts on Jones. I think Jones. I mean, we see Aaron Donald twice a year in the division. I think Jones might be as dominant as any defensive tackle in the game, Donald included. What's he looked like this year?
Yeah, I think Chris Jones is definitely a dominant force. He's an absolute dominant force, can be a beast to block, and he's versatile. He can line up at the defensive end position. He can line up at the tackle. We've seen him stand up in a two-point stance. So that can create some headaches and havoc for opposing offenses. And it seems like he's got that knack, just like Aaron Donald, as you mentioned. He's got that knack to make the play when it's necessary, to be in the mix, to ruffle the feathers of opposing quarterbacks. And he's that force. So that's what we need on this defensive line. I'd like to see a little bit more pressure consistently from our defensive line, but Chris Jones definitely, he holds his own against any offense that we've seen this season.
Danan, what's the weakness of the Chiefs coming into this thing? Is there a weakness? I mean, I know they're leaning on some young corners. How have those corners looked? Are those corners, would you consider them the weakness of the defense right now?
I wouldn't say weakness. I guess I would start on the offense. I think the big play threat outside of Travis Kelce may be a weakness right now. We haven't had the home runs to wide receivers down the field. So I'd like to see more of that. And then defensively, if you want to call it a weakness, 3 of our top 5 corners are rookies that can test the defense. We saw that last week with Joshua Williams getting his first significant playing time since week 1. And he got beat by Gabe and Stephon for big touchdown plays in that game with Josh Allen. So he got baptized by fire. We should have Trent McDuffie back, who was our number 1 pick this year. And hopefully those rookies will mature quickly and start making some plays. But that's just part of the youth. I mean, we went from one of the older teams in the NFL to one of the younger teams in the NFL by way of 10 draft picks in this previous draft. 8 of those guys are playing significant time on offense and defense. So it's kind of growing pains that we're dealing with now. But I feel like the more times, more opportunities they get on the field, the better they'll be.
Last one for you. If you want to bother the great Mahomes, is it rush 3, rush 4, drop 7, drop 8? Or is it, give him defined reads and blitz him and try to speed him up and hurry him up and, disrupt his rhythm? I mean, is there anything that he struggles with at all from your perspective?
I will say it has not been a recipe for success to blitz Patrick Mahomes. Throughout his career, his numbers are eye-popping against the blitz, well ahead of any other quarterback in the NFL, probably ahead of most quarterbacks in history against the blitz. So teams have done well. And when I say well, I mean, we're still talking, minuscule differences in regards to the percentage points, but teams have done well rushing 4, dropping 7. Rushing 3, I just think that he can make things happen. He's got to give him too much time, he'll make something happen. Rushing 4 with the wide DNs on the outside can create a little bit of discomfort for this offense.
Danan, have a great call, man. We hope you have safe travels out here to the Bay, and it's alumni weekend. All the Niner greats are going to be there, and that in itself makes it kind of a special weekend. And then you guys coming out here makes it that much more special. It's easily the game of the week in the NFL. It should be great weather. Have a terrific trip out here, Danan. Thanks for a few minutes helping us preview it today.
No problem. Look forward to maybe seeing Joe Montana, former teammate of mine, out there as well. So it'll be fun.
Hey, well, since you mentioned Joe, what were those years like for you? I mean, Joe, it was heartbreaking for 49er fans, Danan, as you can imagine, to see Joe in 93 go over there. But then we got a new AFC team, and it was very easy to root for the Chiefs, and I was hoping he would climb that mountain. What was his impact like there? Because it was fun to watch him in a Chief uniform. At least for me, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was great. Joe was a great dude. And I say that affectionately because he wasn't Joe Montana, this lofty, figure that everybody looked up to, future Hall of Famer, 4-time Super Bowl winner. He was just Joe Montana, our quarterback, our teammate. So it was really fun to get to know him. I played both years with him while he was here in Kansas City. And I see him at Super Bowls from time to time. Very personable, down-to-earth dude. Just one of the teammates, which I think elevates him a little higher in most people's minds because he just was okay with being just another dude in the locker room. So it was a fun experience. It was a great way to get baptized into the NFL. Many people have had it worse than catching passes from Joe Montana as a rookie and a second-year guy.
Were you there for Montana Elway Monday night? That Montana Elway Monday night game?
Yep, I played on that. I played in that game. I was actually a captain for that season with Joe and Marcus on offense. So I got to go out every game for the coin toss with those guys. And I was part of that game as well with the Monday Night Miracle up in Denver, where Joe beat John for that Monday night win. So yeah, it was fun. It was great because we hadn't had a whole bunch of success at Mile High. We would beat them here in Kansas City, but we didn't have the success. And it was great to watch those guys and be a part of that battle.
Danan, we could talk Montana stories for hours. Niner fans would eat it up. Have a great trip out here, and thanks again for your time.
Thank you. All right.
Danan Hughes, who will be on the call Sunday for the Chiefs, half of their broadcast team, and Niners Chiefs is going to be a good one on Sunday. I don't think anybody doubts that. Now, as far as will we see Christian McCaffrey, will we not? We don't know. I get the feeling that it was a little late in the week. You probably, if you're going to see him, you're going to see him in a bit role, if any role at that. That would be my guess. We'll see what Kyle Shanahan has in store for Christian McCaffrey come Sunday. All right, now we got a mention from our sponsors on the Krueg Show. Larry Krueger here for Telmetrics. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. If you're an occupational therapist, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist of any kind, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in the clinical and the telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, make sure you use telmetrics.co, TELMETRIX.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and all the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dan Coach Emilio. Dan is a buddy, and he is a phenomenal retirement planning specialist. And you can contact him today at securemoney.com or at his number 925-628-9966. There's a lot of uncertainty in our world right now, and you want to make sure that your money is secure. That is the key. Danny's got 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call, 925-628-9966. He'll make an appointment with you, and you can sit down. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of a deal. He'll consult with you and come up with a strategy to get you going to where you want to be. Once again, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And thanks to Tony Casera and the good people at Casera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krueg Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krueg Show t-shirt, the Krueg Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Casera and get yourself a Krueg Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com. Often imitated, never equaled.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
So New York Style Sausage was started over 7 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, you know, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never going to deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it, hands down.
Hey, do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it. Guaranteed.
Time you get the Pasquale wink, you know, you've heard the New York Style Italian Sausage Company commercial. So thanks to our sponsors for being sponsors of the Krueg Show. All right, let's peruse the chat. Hit the like button. Hit that like and subscribe buttons. Spy Nick Danger says, hit the like button, everybody. Yeah, hit that like button. And definitely, if you have yet to subscribe to the show, subscribe to the show. It's free. It will just give you an alert on your phone every time we go live. And we will be going live again in, let's see, about 90 minutes from now. The great Jeff Chadia from the NFL Network is going to stop by. Jeff's an old friend, used to be the Niners beat writer going back years and years and years, and now is doing incredible work for the NFL Network, and is based in Kansas City. So we thought, you know what? what better guy to talk Chiefs with than a guy that we love, a guy who knows the Niners, who knows the league, and knows the Chiefs like the back of his hand, the great Jeff Chadilla. So Jeff's going to join us at 12:30 on the live stream. We're also going to touch base, I think, today with Todd Husak. Traded a text with Husak, and we're going to try to tape a segment with him and talk a little bit about Christian McCaffrey. Of course, Husak played at Stanford, who was the voice of Stanford football as the color analyst with Dave Fleming and Scott Reese for a number of years, saw McCaffrey's entire collegiate career and called every single one of those games. In fact, Todd and I had a little wager coming out in the draft, and I thought that McCaffrey was going to be like a specialist. He thought McCaffrey was going to be a star. I'll defer to him that he was right. My concern was at the time that McCaffrey ran upright and would take injuries and would incur injuries, I should say. So I guess we were both right. He does run upright. He did incur a bunch of injuries, and he's a star. He's not a role player. He's not a guy who is just a special teamer or just a third down guy. Talking about one of the best players in the NFL, except he runs upright and's been hurt quite a bit. So a little bit of I was a little bit right. He was a lot right. And hopefully we'll catch up with Todd Husak later today. And then we may do a Warriors Nuggets go tonight, game 2. And we're hoping to do a little Warrior post game tonight. So I touched base with Carl Foster, who was with us last week. Maybe I'll touch base with Cy again, see if we can get him to stop by. Ryan and Danny, hopefully we can get them to stop by. And so we'll talk a little Warrior basketball tonight. So a big, busy Friday on the Krueg Show. Hope you enjoyed Danan Hughes. We had a little technical difficulty with the broadcast line there. It kind of blew in and out a couple times, but some good dialogue there with Danan Hughes, and we appreciate him for giving us his time. And as I said, about 90 minutes from now, right around 12:30 Pacific, we will talk Niner and Chief football and more Christian McCaffrey with the great Jeff Chadilla. All right, let's hit the chat and see what people have to say in the chat. We got this one saying, stay greasy. Can't wait for Sunday. Red Eye says Shanahan probably says that McCaffrey won't play too late. If that came down this morning, because I've yet to see Shanahan say that. We have Spicy Nick Danger saying hit the like button. We've got California Bear. He says, I bet you Christian McCaffrey would stay in a hotel or a player's house all week just to play, so he doesn't have to fly 2 more times to play on Sunday. We have this one. El Comilo Dorado says Pasquale time. We could throw a little more Pasquale.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner.
There you go. We grew up with that Sunday dinner. We absolutely did. 916_49er. Thank you for being in the chat. He says, life is good. Yes, life is good. Life is good. Bay Area Baller 18. He says, and I want to see McCaffrey on those toss counters. It's about to be nasty. Man, the creativity that Kyle Shanahan can use now in his play calling is off the charts. Hey, Zeus, Larry, does Christian McCaffrey have the speed to go on deep routes? He absolutely does. He's fast. He's got great quickness, great cutting ability. The nice thing about McCaffrey is you can throw it short to him, and he can make a guy miss and take it to the house. He scored a touchdown in the game against the 49ers. Fred Warner had an incredible angle on him, and he just beat him. He just beat Fred with quickness. So he's a very unique athlete for sure. Peter Gorman says they don't want Jimmy throwing deep. Well, I don't think they don't want Jimmy throwing deep, but Jimmy's deep ball hangs, and we've seen it hang. Now, this last week, Jimmy threw 2 great deep balls, one to Warner, dropped it, one to Ray, dropped it. So, do the Niners have a deep threat? Well, they do. It's Danny Gray and Ray McLeod. But Danny Gray, there's nuances to the wide receiver position that elude rookies often, and he's struggling to kind of break through. Ray's got questionable ball skills and has fumbled quite a bit throughout his career. And, so can you trust him to get deep? So now you got a guy like McCaffrey who you can throw it to in the short area, intermediate area. You can line him up in the slot, in the backfield as a fullback. You can put him out wide. You can flex him out as a back. You can just do so many creative things: jet motions, orbit motions, end arounds, fly sweeps. I mean, just wildcat. Line him up in the backfield. Let him take a snap. And short yardage. I mean, there's just a lot of things you can do with Christian McCaffrey. And, people debating today, was the price too high? You're not going to get a star player in the middle of the season. If you're going to get if you need a star player in the middle of the season, you're kind of screwed. Or at least you're not in a position of leverage. That's probably the better way to say it. If you're trying to get a star player in the middle of the year, that means that you think you've got a shot at the Super Bowl, and you want to add a significant piece. Well, to do so, that means you have to outbid, other teams that also want such a player. And so you're, by the nature of the setup, you're going to overpay. And you could make an argument that 4 picks, a 2, a 3, a 4 in this draft, and then a 5 in the next draft is a little bit of an overpay. But there was no first-round draft choice, and you're getting a first-round talent for sure. There are some injury concerns, so that's part of the equation. But then I think the other factor here is that the 49ers are getting, I believe, 6 compensatory thirds for 3 of their coaches that have been hired on in other places as part of the new NFL's incentivized program to incentivize minority hiring around the league. It's sad they even need to do such a thing, but they have attached draft pick compensation to minority coaches getting jobs. So if you give minority assistant coaches an opportunity and they prove while they're with you that they're outstanding candidates, and then they get in the pool and become head coaching candidates, and then once they land head coaching jobs, you're getting 2 third-round picks for each pick. So Martin Mayhew moved as a general manager. He's African-American man. He's now in Washington, I believe, 2/3. Same with Miami's new head coach. Same with Robert Saleh, the Jets' new head coach. So the 49ers have a bunch of third-round picks coming back. And I think those compensatory thirds, which are picks that are at the end of the third round. So you're talking about picks generally between pick 99 and 120, somewhere in there. So those are great picks. I mean, that's a great spot in the draft to land premier talent, I believe. So if you're getting 6 picks over a couple year span, you probably inside your Super Bowl window to outbid the Rams for said player, you probably can afford to trade a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5th in next year's draft because you have those third-round picks coming your way. I think the other factor is the 49ers just had one of the deepest draft hauls they've had since 1986 this year. Nobody talks about it because we're all fascinated on, the stars and the guys at the top of the draft, and there was no first-round draft choice. But Adam Peters and John Lynch and the Niner Scouts had a phenomenal draft. All you got to do is look at the results in day 2, day 3 after the draft. Look at their practice squad. They got a lot of guys. They landed about a dozen good players in this last draft, if you consider the undrafted guys as well. Guys that they have hope for making their roster in the future. So they're well fortified in the draft. This was a perfect time to go for the great player, the individual player, the player that's one of your, day one that McCaffrey walks into the locker room, he's a top 5 player on the team. So he's a difference maker. And if he can get you over the top and bring you that 6th Lombardi, it will have been worth it. Heck, if he can get you into the Super Bowl and you can get a chance at that 6th Lombardi by playing Kansas City or Buffalo in that game, you know what? In my mind, that's worth it. So this was a calculated gamble, but I think, and ultimately they paid a pretty good price. I think it's a win-win. For Carolina, it's a win because they get 4 picks and accelerate their rebuild. For the 49ers, it's a win because at a time where they're flush with depth and picks, they move 4 that are not none in the round 1 for a premier back. Now, the question is, can he stay healthy? Can he be productive? Can he be the difference? Time's going to tell on that one, but I think they got a hell of a football player. 916_49er. Any chance that you see Christian McCaffrey in the red zone against the Chiefs? That was the initial report, but I'm hearing that maybe they're hedging and that you may not see him till the Ram game. Bay Area Baller 18. McCaffrey was averaging 4.6 yards per carry on the Panthers. That should go north of 5. I mean, that right there, just looking at that stat alone makes you excited. And Jesus says, Larry, Gray has speed, but can he handle the catch and the fight for the ball? Yet to see. I think he can handle it, but it's about professionalism, and it's about, doing all the nuances. You got to remember, NFL receivers are your primo tell. So when I say that, teams are, in the stadium, there'll be people on the Chiefs side looking through binoculars at the 49ers sideline. They'll be studying to see who's sending in plays, trying to steal those plays. They'll also be looking for any tell on film or in live time that tells their defense tips them off. So, you know what? Rookie receivers give away things that they don't even realize they're giving away. Sometimes they break the huddle with a lot more energy when the ball's coming their way as opposed to a run play. Believe it or not, NFL teams notice this. Sometimes receivers only cinch up their gloves and retighten their gloves when they know the ball's coming their way. So, if they don't cinch up the gloves, that can be a tell. There's several receivers that don't understand the nuances of, giving away plays. And so there's a baptism by fire that has to happen. And there's a learning curve, let's just say that. And rookie receivers oftentimes don't produce for a lot of these reasons. They're not as polished. They're not as refined. They don't understand that how they break the huddle matters, that how they line up on the line of scrimmage matters, that how they cinch up their gloves matters, that, they could be giving things away by what their nonverbal is pre-snap. And teams could be studying them. So, and then there's huge nuances to route running and the precision that's required in the NFL as opposed to college. So all this entire diatribe is all about, it's tough to be a rookie wide receiver, and there's a ton to learn. So it's not just about, hey, the guy runs 4.33 and he plays like 4.2. Because he does. Danny Gray plays like a sub 4.3 guy. But it's not always about that. And it's about professionalism and consistency, satisfying your coaching staff, and just being great at all the nuances of the position. So I think it's safe to say that they like Danny Gray. He wasn't a bust as a 3rd-round pick. He's going to catch a lot of deep balls. He might have been more ideally suited to play with Trey Lance. He's definitely going to be utilized quite a bit in the years ahead because he's going to run off the coverage. His speed is legit. His toughness is legit. He's going to make a ton of plays. That was a great pick. But he might not be ready right now. And I would guess that he's not. And Ray's ball skills are a little iffy, and then their tackle play that the 49ers have. Do they have the tackle play to be able to protect the quarterback, to let these speed guys open up down the field? And I would say the answer is no. So they need a dynamic player, but they need a dynamic player they can throw it to underneath. And that's where McCaffrey, I think, is the perfect player for the 49er needs. All right, that does it for this live stream. We're back with you at 12:30 with the great Chef Shadia talking more Niner football. Until then.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you won't get exactly what you asked for. Careful, whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle. Yeah, we ain't never fall back. Hold up.